All right, happy Monday, everybody. Monday, March, what is that, 23rd? Yes. Okay. Here's your bell ringer. What are some properties of the honeybee colony or superorganism, and how, when, and why does a hive make a new queen? What do we call that? So go ahead and pause your video now, and we'll resume in a few minutes once you've had a chance to complete the bell ringer. Okay, so hopefully you took a minute and completed the bell ringer, and now you're ready to um, move on with the instruction portion. So, what do bees eat? Well, it's kind of a tricky question. They need a source of protein, and they need a food for their developing young. So it depends on how old the bees are and what they're doing and when. But they have two sources of food ultimately, pollen and nectar. Today I want to focus on pollen. Pollen is collected from flowers. You know, you can see this bee body right here is sort of dusted with pollen, and she has these little pollen sacs on the back where she stores a big wad of pollen. Then when they land on a flower, they're gonna just sort of rub their body all around and really get in there and cover themselves in the pollen, and then they use their limbs to sort of work it back to these pollen sacs where it's stored. The pollen on the flower is on the male parts of the flower right here, of the reproductive organs of the flower, and this would be the female portion of the flower here. So while the bee is, getting its food, it's also uh, transferring pollen from the male part to the female part of this flower, or from one flower to another. So while they're getting their food, they're also helping with the life cycle of the plant. And anyway, I could talk about it all day and you still wouldn't really see the beauty of it. And so here's this video that will show. Oh, whoops, sorry, I forgot about this picture. The video that I'm going to play in a minute will show you that process, the bees actually doing it. But look at this honeycomb, or I should say this comb inside of a beehive that someone is keeping. This one comb has different materials and different things going on in all of the different cells. Here in the top cells, it's almost all honey capped with wax. Then down below that, we have cells that are sort of in the process of doing different things. Here is some drone brood, which will become males. These are regular brood, which will all become workers. And then right here is what we're interested in today. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe there's, I don't know, 20 or 30 of these little pollen cells. And this is where the bees have deposited their pollen and a little bit of honey. And it's almost like putting unbaked bread into the oven. That pollen is going to go through a series of chemical changes and become this stuff called bee bread, which is an excellent source of protein for all the worker bees inside the hive. They're all going to be consuming this bee bread as a form of sustenance. And anyway, here's a video that will show you guys this beautiful process. I'm going to watch it with you.
Okay, time to head to work. But before this honeybee starts her commute, she's prepping her tools. Because honeybees collect pollen. You knew that. But it's not as simple as you might think. Plants want the bees to carry the pollen away and spread it to other flowers. That's pollination, how plants reproduce. But bees also need to carry lots of it home. Pollen is a protein-packed food for the hive. Luckily, they have the right gear. They're hairy, like tiny flying teddy bears. She's covered in 3 million hairs for trapping pollen. They're even on her eyes. Here on her legs, they're shaped into spiky brushes and flat combs. When she lands on a bloom, she really gets in there. Nibbling on the flower's anthers detaches the pollen. Time to pack up her haul. She cleans it off her eyes and antennae with those brushes on her front legs, like windshield wipers. Here it is up close. That leg wipes the pollen right off her eye. Then she moves the pollen from leg to leg, like a conveyor belt. Front to middle to back. The bee does this super fast while she flies from bloom to bloom, moving the pollen into special baskets on her back legs called corbiculae. She bends her leg, using it to squish the pollen into a ball, packing it together with a little saliva and nectar. She can get as many as 160,000 pollen grains into each ball. She's hauling as much as 1/3 of her weight. Back at the hive, meal prep is about to start. But the pollen isn't for making honey. The honey under this wax is made from nectar. They eat it for its sugar. Bees turn pollen into something completely different, bee bread. That's their source of protein. Step 1, find an open spot. Step 2, deposit your goods and pack them neatly. Step 3, let the pollen marinate with a hint of honey. And voila, it's ready. The pantry is stocked, both for adult bees and the babies that are growing in the cells next door. The adults pop in to drop off a special bee bread snack, a little home cooking for the hive's future hard-working flyers. Okay, more bees. We'll keep them coming. Blue orchard bees build nests.
Okay, guys, so go ahead and now respond to the prompt on the next slide, which I don't know how to get to. Give me 1 second, working out the technical difficulties. There we go. Write a paragraph that describes what we learned about the difference between what bees eat and how they make bee bread. Okay, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.